A report has been published by Resource Tracking for HIV Prevention. It has found that research funding for HIV is declining within African states, and that it has been doing so for some time.
African countries, Kenya included, maybe apart from South Africa, which has got its own MRC, and they are really capable of funding their own research, and maybe Egypt and Morocco. But the rest of Africa is actually caught up in these limited resources that are actually directed towards research. And it has been a struggle ever since we started, because local funding has never been available.
Sub-Saharan Africa is the region worst affected by HIV, but it still lags behind in the implementation of the Abuja Declaration. There it was decided that 15% of national budgets should go to healthcare.
Africa and Kenya as a whole needed a kick in the rear, because we've taken it for granted that this is free money and we can do whatever we want. And I think it's time we started realizing that. And now that brings us back to the old adage which we have been advocating for, and which even the presidents of the AU signed on the issue of the 15% of budget to health, which they have since neglected.
The issue of funding for HIV research isn't just an African one, it's global. The Resource Tracking report says annual investment in HIV prevention is the lowest in more than a decade. The United States used to spend around $6 billion a year. That could be scaled back to a little over $1 billion. And there are only two donors funding HIV research: the United States public sector and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. European public sector funding has also been dropping steadily. A worrying trend, but one that could be addressed if African governments act.
A clear local research agenda based on that this is where we are, and this is really the research that we would like Kenyan scientists to engage in. Then it will also give us focus. HIV has not gone away. If they cut donor funding in terms of HIV treatment programs, definitely the country is going to have problems.
Reaching 1 million people on treatment is not an achievement. It is a question of how have you strategized to keep those 1 million people on quality treatment.
Even with several milestones having been reached in the fight against the spread of HIV on the African continent, much more needs to be done. The stark reality is the virus is far from beaten, so it's up to Africa to set up its own efforts in search of a cure. Beryl, Ooro, CGTN.